Right. Today also, Surah 31, moving on to Surah 31, right? The Wise is the title of this surah, the Wise, right? So, these are the verses of the Wise book, meaning the Quran, right? So, as I said, there's a complete message in the book, but there are certain verses that I do agree with based on how I feel about it, and that's why I express it, right? It's not that I am denouncing the book or anything like that. And there are certain verses I read and I feel resentment for because of the nature of the verses, right? But it doesn't mean, I've always said from day one that there's a complete message in the book, as in a message, right? So the book is guidance and mercy for those who do good, right? Who establish prayer and give zakah, right? And of the hereafter they are certain in faith, right? So as I was saying before, this zakah is not just charity. This charity is not just, and this is spoken to leaders of the world and stuff. This zakah or charity is not just given hampers and handouts and so on, right? When certain occasions arise and so on, or elections arise and so on. This zakah or charity in the real sense of the word, zakah, right? In the real sense of the word, means helping people to set up systems where they have long-term sustainability, right? Long-term sustainability, long-term access to clean drinking water, long-term access to food, clothing, shelter, all these things, provision of land, all these things, right? So that is what it really means. It doesn't mean to give some hampers or give out some money for elections and a vote for me kind of thing, right? That's not what it means, right? So those are of the people who buys amusement of speech, meaning comedy. You engage in comedy, right? Always. Now nothing is wrong with making jokes. Everybody know I like jokes. I like to make jokes. But those who he who buys the amusement of speech to mislead others, right? So nothing is wrong with comedy, jokes, even religious jokes, all these things, right? But he who buys the amusement of speech for the intention of misleading others, right? This is away or apart from the way of Allah, right? You buy amusement of speech, right? Comedy, you engage in comedy for the purpose of averting people from the way of Allah, right? That is when it is wrong, right? So we're talking about now what is considered as shirk or sin in Islam. One of the things is in terms of associating other things or entities with Allah is misleading stories, frivolous songs or music, right? So it's not saying that you can't listen to some songs or songs with a message or so on. It means that there are certain music, there are certain movies, there are certain things in entertainment, there are certain things with that with regard to dark entities of the world, meaning the dark forces. I'm not talking about dark in terms of skin color, right? Reinforcing that point. I'm talking about entities in the world, right? Dark side forces in the world, right? That try to avert you from a spiritual path, from your spiritual path, right? That's what we are trying to withdraw ourselves from, right? It doesn't mean that any and every song you have to give up every song altogether, all music altogether, right? There are certain songs or certain videos or certain entities behind the making of certain videos, movies, music, right? In the religious and non-religious realm, right? So this is what we are trying to withdraw ourselves from. Those frivolous, what it means frivolous meaning nonsensical music, nonsensical movies, right? Nonsensical entertainment that avert you, right? Because as I was saying, there's music that can actually heal you, right? There are forms of music that could actually help in your healing journey. And then there's some that is actually is frivolous or is averting you, encouraging you down a wrong path, right? So it's to use your discernment with these things are concerned, right? Be grateful to Allah and to those who created you, and not just those who created you, but to those whom you look up to in terms of guardianship, and those who look after you in terms of a guardianship relationship that you have with them, right? Or your parents, right? Be grateful for these things once you have these things, right? To Allah is your final destination, right? And Allah will inform you of that which you used to do, right? Now, just a word of caution to those who believe in this, right? Allah will inform you of that which you used to do, right? Does this mean that you take this as an opportunity? If you are within, you are a vessel who Allah is working through, right? Does it mean that, talking to specific people, does it mean that you are to use this as an excuse to do anything that you want to do, right? Because as in my thought and in my thought process, I've been thinking very carefully about this line or this verse, right? Allah will inform you of that which you used to do, right? So does it mean that you take this opportunity to do anything you want? Because in this world, anything is allowed, right? Anything goes, right? Anything goes in the world that we live in currently, right? So is it that you take this as an opportunity to engage in any kind of behavior and say, hey, well, this is what you used to do, so I'm just showing you what you used to do, right? It doesn't mean that, right? That's not what it means, right? You be intentional in your action, you be intentional in your way of being, you be intentional in your lifestyle, be intentional in your way of being, be intentional in your lifestyle, be intentional in your actions, right? Indeed, Allah is subtle and aware, right? So enjoin what is right, forbid what is wrong, and be patient over what befalls you. Indeed, be patient over all matters that require resolution, right? Because there are some issues in the world that some issues we are dealing with, right? And seems like there's no outcome, no resolution to the matters, right? So just be patient over the issues that befall you, right? Be patient over the matters with the hope and with the knowledge that there will be a final outcome, right? There will be a final outcome in the situation, right? All matters require resolution, right? Whoever submits his or her face to Allah while he is a doer of good, then he has grasped the most trustworthy handle, right? So Allah is sufficient, right? As in the Allah, true Allah, beyond all human beings, right? Is sufficient, right? Is trust, you can trust, right? Let not the disbelief of anyone grieve you, right? Let not the disbelief of anybody avert you or grieve or make you grieve, right? Know that your creation and resurrection will not be but that as a single soul, right? Meaning that your resurrection and your creation, right, is actually the same self, meaning that you are an authentic human being. You are an authentic human being. You are an authentic human being, meaning that the same person at the core, meaning that at the soul level, at the core, right, that you were, right, is the same level at the resurrection, right, your recreation. Nothing changes, right? Your way of seeing the world, your way of being, your essence, right? Your essence remains the same, right? This is what this means. Your creation and resurrection will be the same, meaning that you are an authentic person for your life. In your rebirth, your essence remains the same, right? You are an authentic person in this life. In your past life, your essence remains the same in this life, right? Same self, same essence, right? Do you not see that ships sail through the sea by the favor of Allah, that he may show you his signs? So we see the signs of Allah is not just one. I said this before, there are multiple signs. There are multiple signs of the presence of God, of the presence of Allah, right? And he will show this to you, right? Just remember, I keep referring to Allah as he, but Allah is, as the book said, without gender, right? Without gender, right? Or both genders, right? It means the same thing, right? Without gender, both genders, male, female, and genderless, right? Male, female, genderless, meaning that it is one entity with the operative principles of both, right? One entity with the operative principles of both, meaning complete harmonization of self, right? So Allah alone has knowledge of the hour, right? And sends down rain and knows what is in the wombs, right? And no soul perceives what it will earn tomorrow, and no soul perceives what land it will die. Allah alone is all knowing and aware, right? Have a good day, everybody.